As part of the Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series, we welcome you to today's webinar titled Personal Branding, Your Resume and LinkedIn Profile. My name is Sharon Kane. I serve as Director of Professional and Academic Programs in Notre Dame's Alumni Association. This webinar is focused on providing you with a deeper understanding of personal branding and specifically how your resume and LinkedIn profile communicate your personal brand. So what is your personal brand? Well, it's the image or the impression created in the mind of others. It might be other individuals, other groups, other organizations. So it's important because it sends a clear and consistent message of who you are and the value you offer. It's not a new term. It was introduced actually in 1937 in the book Think and Grow Rich. It resurfaced in 1981 in a book called Positioning the Battle for Your Mind. And then it was really popularized by Tom Peters in a 1997 article called The Brand Called You that was in Fast Company magazine. Here's a quote of what Tom Peters said in that article. Regardless of age, regardless of position, regardless of the business we happen to be in, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, Me Inc. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. So more recently, this notion of personal branding has received increased emphasis given the internet and this online world in which we live, and the need to manage our online identities. So there's a term, personal brand assets, that would include things like your resume, your LinkedIn profile, personal blog, website, and that's these things give evidence of an online following. So all of that gives us as individuals and professionals a better chance to be noticed, to stand out in a positive way. So it's essential that our personal brands are authentic, that they're accurate and strong and as distinct as possible, so as you move through your life and career and grow your network and pursue other career options, change jobs or industries, that your personal brand is positioned well to help you there. So it also gives other professionals, or recruiters, hiring managers, and employers an opportunity to more accurately assess an individual's abilities and cultural fit with their organizations. Since online resumes, blogs, profiles, websites are pieces of work that can be evaluated. The information we share in this webinar will help you gain a competitive advantage through a better understanding of the relationship between your resume and LinkedIn profile, as well as the purpose of each of those career tools. We're going to talk today about how and when your resume and LinkedIn profile are used by hiring managers and how to utilize each to convey your best professional image. So, as we get started and you have questions, please use the online Q&A session. And if we're unable to get to your question as part of today's webinar, we'll certainly respond offline. And just remind you to include your email address so we can do that. And the webinar is being recorded. It'll be posted on the My Notre Dame website, and you can look for that there shortly. So I want to welcome today's presenter, Annie Duffy. Annie serves as the Alumni Association's career advisor. She provides one-on-one advising services to our alumni. She's a certified professional resume writer and regularly provides both instruction and feedback on resumes and cover letters. Annie is a 2006 Notre Dame grad. She earned her degree in marketing from the Mendoza College of Business. And prior to her current role, she worked directing the clubs for 3+ years and then transitioned into the career advisor role about 2 years ago. So Annie has created today's presentation based on interactions with our alumni as well as proven practices. So welcome, Annie. Thank you for leading us through the personal branding webinar today.
Hello, thank you Sharon for the introduction, and again thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. We are very excited to have you here for this month's installment of the Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series, as Sharon mentioned, focusing on how to utilize your resume and LinkedIn profile to best portray your personal brand to employers. Before we begin, we'd also like to encourage you to later take a look at our Clear-Sighted Career webinar library, which includes a handful of really great resources for building your resume and LinkedIn profile, including the webinars Effective and Distinctive Resumes and Boost Your LinkedIn Know-How. Today, we'll begin by talking about which is more important when it comes to personal branding, your resume or LinkedIn profile. And we'll follow with a quick discussion on the commonalities between these two professional tools. We'll then talk about the unique characteristics of a resume, followed by those exclusive to your LinkedIn profile, including who is viewing each of these, when they're both being viewed, and how they're being detected by employers and recruiters. And then we'll conclude with some personal branding tips, including what to include as well as what to exclude to make both stand out from your competition. We'll begin today's discussion by talking about which is more important, your resume or LinkedIn profile. Well, I know this probably isn't the answer that you want to hear, but this really is up for debate, and it really does depend on who you ask. One HR manager may have a completely different opinion than another, and one company may place a much heavier emphasis on one tool over the other. But what's important to keep in mind is that because these are the two most highly viewed professional tools, they are both essential for conveying your personal brand, whether you're actively in a job search, whether you're just passively looking, or if you're completely content in your current job. It's also important to note that while online professional platforms like LinkedIn are becoming more and more common, the resume is absolutely not going away. It's been around forever, and every employer out there will still be requesting a resume during the application process. This will be the case whether you came across your name on LinkedIn, if you were referred by a professional contact, or even if you are a preferred candidate. It's always going to be needed. However, if I were forced to answer which of these tools I thought was more important in today's market, I would probably lean towards the LinkedIn profile for just a few reasons. As most of you are probably aware, LinkedIn is part of a constantly growing online world. Its ease of use for everyone, including employers and recruiters, has created an increased need for an online presence. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or if you even have one that's lacking information or not complete, it really will raise a red flag. Almost every employer out there nowadays will search for your LinkedIn profile after they've received your resume. And on top of that, your LinkedIn profile is being used as a search tool by recruiters to proactively seek you out as a potential candidate for jobs that you haven't even applied for. And even further, LinkedIn has become one of the strongest professional networking tools available, as well as a primary hub for job postings. So all this said, really make sure that you have a strong presence on LinkedIn and continue to keep your resume updated at all times, because these are the two most vital tools to your professional personal brand. Next, we're going to talk about the commonalities of a resume and a LinkedIn profile. First, and probably most obviously at this point, is that both completely reflect your personal brand. When each of these tools are viewed, the reader gets a sense of who you are, not just professionally, but also as a person. Beyond the content, the reader gets a sense of who you are through your format, word choice, creativity, and really every single piece that's on the page. So use this to your advantage. Go beyond just simply stating what you do and what you've done. Show the reader who you really are through all of this. The next common denominator of the resume and LinkedIn profile is that both are used by HR and employers after you've submitted the application. As I mentioned earlier, the resume is not going away. And now in today's world, it's so easy to open up your internet browser to find out more about a person. It's a guarantee that both of these will be viewed by HR for almost every single job you apply for. The following primary commonality between these two tools are their overall core components. While both certainly have unique pieces, you'll notice when building them that under their headings, both always begin with a strong professional summary to give the reader a high-level overview of your personal professional brand. And then they'll no doubt include at least a portion of your work history, but focus on your most relevant experiences. And then each will also contain your career accomplishments so that you're setting yourself apart from the competition. While the extent of each of these will vary between the two tools, they all still set the foundation of each one. All right, and next we'll spend just a few minutes discussing the unique characteristics of a resume and how these characteristics should be considered when trying to convey your personal brand. The first trait that's unique to the resume is the fact that it's a physical document. I know it's hard to believe, but even in today's electronic world, most HR and hiring managers are printing submitted resumes out so that they have a hard copy. This is simply due to the fact that they have so many in front of them at once, and it's much easier to physically sift through and compare each side by side. This said, unlike LinkedIn, images, colors, and multimedia likely will not be seen. Try to keep this in mind when you're crafting your resume and portray your personal brand through other means, such as format, font, words, and even numbers. There are countless ways you can do this. You just need to be a little bit creative. The next unique characteristic of the resume is that it can and should be tailored to the specific position you're submitting it for. We've talked about this in detail in past webinars, but tailoring your resume to the specific position based on your professional experiences will absolutely set your resume apart from others, and it will express that you're the perfect candidate for that role, as well as illustrate how your personal brand specifically fits their needs. Because the resume is tailored to specific positions, it's also much shorter in length than your LinkedIn profile. Use this to your advantage. List only what the reader needs to see and allow your personal brand to be visible immediately. Because it's abbreviated, the personal brand should be identified quickly and easily. Another exclusive feature of the resume is that it's not only viewed by the HR department you submitted it to, it's also viewed by the hiring committee for that job. But it's a much more private document that isn't circulated to the public. Again, use this to your advantage as well. Your personal brand is likely very extensive, but focus on the aspects that just this group needs to see and have fun with it. It's not often that you can emphasize just certain aspects of yourself, but the resume allows you to do just that. And lastly, while it's only HR and the hiring committee who see your resume, another sole feature of this document is that it's seen by far more people within this actual group than your LinkedIn profile. So in other words, while your LinkedIn profile is a bit more public and gets more overall hits than your resume, when it comes to those interviewing you, it's likely that not every single person will take a look at your LinkedIn profile. They will, however, certainly be reviewing your resume. Okay, and now for the unique characteristics of your LinkedIn profile and how they can be leveraged to highlight your personal brand. LinkedIn is one of the most outstanding resources for allowing you to portray your personal combined with your professional brand. First, your LinkedIn profile is a live document. While both this and your resume should always be kept up to date, it is absolutely imperative that your LinkedIn profile is up to date since it can be viewed 24/7, 365 days a year. Again, use this to your advantage. Keep its content fresh and make it a reflection of your current self by including anything from recent awards, press releases, honors, publications, accomplishments, volunteer activities, really everything that's going on in your professional life. LinkedIn profiles are also much more searchable than resumes. Now, don't get me wrong, many companies are doing keyword searches in resumes too, but LinkedIn is primarily a search tool for employers and recruiters. So use relevant keywords throughout your profile, and especially in your summary section, since this is what's viewed first and most often. One reason that LinkedIn is considered more searchable than resumes, and another unique quality of it, is that it's used not just by HR as a supplement to your resume, but it's also used by your LinkedIn network, as well as recruiters who are looking for the right candidates to fill open positions. This means that there are people out there proactively searching for you, where your resume is really only viewed by individuals who you submitted it directly to. These last 2 points are huge. This means that your LinkedIn profile is reflecting your personal brand even when you're not in the job search. So make sure it's the best reflection of yourself at all times. LinkedIn profiles are also much longer in length than a resume. This is due to the fact that LinkedIn profiles really can't be tailored to one job. Again, take advantage. Adapt your LinkedIn profile from your resume and then build it out using those keywords and skill sets recruiters are searching for. LinkedIn allows you to list up to 50 skills in the skills and endorsement section of your profile. So use this to show others your strengths and then allow them to endorse you for those that they can confirm. Utilize the longer length of your profile by also adding in as much media as you can. Include impressive presentations, whether it be a PowerPoint document or a recorded talk, interviews in a printed magazine or newspaper, or recordings of any that were online or on TV, photos depending on your industry. Include all that here because this is outstanding information that you can't display on your resume. And finally, keep in mind that LinkedIn is a form of social media. Leverage your active social life to find your friends and build your professional network. Go to Facebook and then search for your friends on LinkedIn, and then search for their friends and their friends' friends. Always keep expanding your network and start with those who already have a sense of your professional, personal brand. When you do reach out to new contacts, though, always send a personalized connection request versus the generic one that auto-populates. Not only is this just a lot more personal, but it's just another way that you can utilize LinkedIn to convey your personal brand to someone. Once you expand your network and build your relationships with contacts, recruiters, HR, and hiring managers, you'll realize that this form of social media is also where the jobs are. And lastly, since LinkedIn is a form of social media, your profile also differs from the resume in that it can be written as a narrative in the first person. While LinkedIn is completely professional, the fact that it's social media also allows it to be a bit more personal than the resume, and therefore writing as a narrative is completely acceptable. And finally, I wanted to share with you some important tips and reminders to always keep top of mind when conveying your personal brand through your resume and LinkedIn. Personal branding is based on who you are. It's more than just the tasks you've done, and it's even more than the accomplishments you've reached and the awards you've earned. Those things are certainly a part of you, but you have much more to bring to a job than a list of skills and honors that others have presented to you. Let the reader know who you are as a person. Always keep both your LinkedIn profile and resume updated. You never know when someone will be searching LinkedIn for a candidate just like you. They could be right now. And you also never know when that dream opportunity will become available, so have your resume ready too. Both of these tools are key to conveying your personal brand, whether you're in a job search or not. Another important tip is to not only be keyword heavy in your resume and LinkedIn, but make sure that you're listing hard skills versus soft skills and buzzwords. Recruiters and hiring managers aren't going to be doing searches for words like eager or motivated. They're going to be searching for hard skill keywords specifically related to the job and industry. We also encourage you to take a look at the LinkedIn Help Center, which is a really comprehensive but easy to use section of LinkedIn where pretty much any question you have can be answered. I know so many help sections where there isn't an actual person to talk to or chat with, and they aren't very user-friendly, but LinkedIn really is, so please don't be afraid to use it. And finally, we talk a lot about how your resume and LinkedIn profile coincide and vary when it comes to expressing your personal brand. But to be able to do this, you first need to have a strong resume and a strong profile which stand out from others. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have some really wonderful webinars on alumni.nd.edu/career under the multimedia section, including a handful which go into detail on creating each of these two tools. So take a look, and as always, feel free to reach out and ask any questions that you have as a result. All right, and now we are ready to open it up for Q&A. So I will turn it back over to Sharon to moderate, and please, again, feel free to send your questions through the Q&A feature of Adobe Connect. And if we aren't able to get to your question, we will answer it via email after the webinar. Just please make sure to include your email when you submit the question.
All right. Annie, thank you very much. We have several questions that have come in, so we'll dive in. Paul is asking about the recommendations you have for creating a file name when you're electronically sending your resume and you have different versions of that resume. You don't want to necessarily name it Resume 1, Resume 2, or something like Mechanic Resume. Do you have any suggestions or guidelines for the electronic file names for different versions of the resume, Annie?
Sure, this is a good question, Paul. You know, you have some flexibility here. You obviously on your own computer will want to save them as something pretty easily identified, whether it be for a certain position or just in industry, anything like that. When you do submit it to a company for a specific position, though, I would try to make it as straightforward as possible, maybe just using your first and last name or your first initial last name _ resume. And then, you know, that will be as easy for them to read as possible. You don't need to make it too long. It would just confuse them. So you might have to adjust it before you upload from something different from what you have on your computer.
All right, and Mike is asking about LinkedIn and specifically about skill endorsements in LinkedIn. Do people really value endorsements? He's received hundreds and from people who haven't worked with him. So he's not convinced of the quality when he sees endorsements on others' profiles.
You know what? This is also a very good question, Mike. You know what? People do. HR managers absolutely do look at these, especially the ones that are at the very top of the list that you have been endorsed for most frequently. You know, if you have 50 endorsements on there, but the bottom few only have 2 or 3, those, you're correct. They aren't going to be looked at as much. But if you have 500 endorsements for marketing communications, that's significant, you know, and 500 people aren't randomly selecting that, you know, for you. So that does say something, and HR and recruiters are definitely looking at that.
And just to build on that for you, Mike, those are, you know, should be just your first degree connections that are able to provide endorsements. So they should be people who know you, and if you're giving an endorsement, which we do recommend that you do quality to support your colleagues, build your professional network, and that reciprocity is important too. So hopefully they are with meaning. You definitely want them to be meaningful. So Megan is asking about posting presentations. I think she means to her LinkedIn profile. Many of the presentations she has are confidential and respective to a client. What's the best way to share work without giving away anything that's confidential?
If you are uncomfortable posting it to LinkedIn, that is understandable if it is confidential. You could certainly, when you email your resume, include it in the attachment there as well, so that the HR department has it. You could also make a note of it on LinkedIn, and state that you have confidential presentations, things like that, available upon request. You can certainly get those out there without posting it to LinkedIn.
Great. So next question comes from John. He's asking, what services does ND offer for resume/LinkedIn profile review for alums?
Yeah, so we actually provide complimentary resume and cover letter reviews. And we can certainly work with alums to go through their LinkedIn profiles right now and try to strengthen them. That isn't an official service that we provide, but we are very, very happy to help in any way that we can. We also have some really great resources on our website that we ask that you take a look at first, because those are a great starting point. If you go to alumni.nd.edu/career, which is just the career and professional services section of the Alumni Association webpage, you'll find under the multimedia resources section a lot of webinars that will be very, very helpful to get you started.
And again, I want to remind everyone that Annie is a certified professional resume writer. She provides comprehensive feedback. It's a top request that we receive from our alumni, and we do ask that you strengthen your resume as much as possible using the resources that are available on our website, as well as any other sound resources that you have, and that the resume that you submit for Annie's review is as strong as you can possibly make it. She's very dedicated to this, very expert at it, so you're in good hands. Our next question is coming from Megan about guides for hard skill keywords versus buzzwords.
So are there guides? We have a handful of information on the website. We also link to the Career Center's webpage, which has, I believe, a PDF of some skills that are just very good examples. But really, I think the best thing to do is think hard about your specific skills, whether they're hard skills and or soft. Even though I think it's best to be heavy on the hard skills, so whether it be your years of experience, the industry that you have expertise in, software that you are an expert at as well, those are what you should really emphasize because they set you apart from others. But, certainly you do want to list those soft skills as well, especially if they're noted in the position description. Just make sure that when you do soft skills, which would be things like strong communicator, detail-oriented, make sure you only list those if they're required by the job and if you can provide validation as well, because that's going to go a long way with the reader. Unfortunately, a lot of people put down that they're a strong communicator and that they're very organized, but it won't mean as much to the reader unless you can back it up. So try to put that on your LinkedIn profile and your resume as well.
Very good. And Megan had just a quick follow-up on tips on the my.nd.edu website for crafting your personal brand. And Megan, this webinar will be on there as it's recorded. Beyond that, we don't have any tips or information on personal branding. We'll take that to heart and look to expand our multimedia library. There are links to many articles, but I don't believe we have one on personal branding, so we will get to that. And then a question from Dave about the content. So Dave, yes, we do record all of our clear-sighted career webinars. So this will be available later today at alumni.nd.edu/career. So you can look for this webinar that's been recorded as well as the others that will be there. So hope you can find them. So with that, we want to thank everyone for joining us today and hope that the information we've shared on how to understand, enhance, and communicate your personal brand through your resume and LinkedIn profile in particular was helpful information. There are many benefits to having a strong personal brand. First, it really does increase your self-understanding, your self-awareness about what makes you unique, what makes you valuable. And so I think that when you understand your strengths and your value and yourself, you can communicate those out to those in your network, whether you're in a job search or not. And another benefit is it can help you clarify and reach your goals. So when you're crystal clear on what you want to achieve, it can help your goals in setting your goals so that you get there. I think since personal branding is about differentiating yourself or distinguishing yourself from everyone else in a competitive marketplace or organization, this kind of thing, a personal brand, goes beyond your job title and reaches out into your value. So I want to encourage everyone to apply your personal brand knowledge by creating your own compelling elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is a short, focused description of who you are and the value that you offer. We do have a recorded webinar in this called Selling Yourself, Elevator Pitch Step by Step, and that is found in the same location of alumni.nd.edu/career. So thank you so much for that. I hope that the benefits are clear to you and that you will act on that by crafting a strong elevator pitch. So our next Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series webinar will be in September, and so you can keep an eye out for that information. In the meantime, please refer to the recorded webinars that are available to you, and thank you for your participation today.